Hello and welcome to this edition of Discuss Nigeria on African Free Press Television. It is always an interesting thing when we come together to talk about our dear nation Nigeria. And today we'll be taking on another special and important issue. And this time around it's more of a legal issue where we have to ask the question if the Senate has a constitutional right to screen the ministers. And to take on this issue today are two gentlemen. First on my right, Mr. Ogochukwu Ezekiel, who is a legal practitioner here in Abuja. You're welcome to the program.
Thank you so much.
And on my left, very interestingly, always very interesting when I discuss Nigeria, with Mr. Tochukwu Okorie, who is a policy analyst and a public affairs commentator. Thank you for joining us on the show today.
My pleasure.
Now let's hit the nail. Now, Section 147, subsection 2 states that any appointment to the office of Minister of the Government of the Federation shall, if the nomination of any person to such office is confirmed by the Senate, be made by the President. That's now making reference to the ministers. Now the question is, we're looking at the word confirmed and the word to screen. What do you agree with this, that when you say it is we are confirming something, is it the same thing as screening from a legal perspective?
Well, what the Constitution is very clear here. What the Constitution envisages is that if the President nominates those he feels are capable of holding the office of a Minister of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, such persons should be referred to the Senate for the Senate to scrutinize them on behalf of all Nigerians and decide whether they are capable of holding such office. And if they are, they will confirm to the President, in line with the provisions of the Constitution, that these persons who were sent to them are actually qualified to hold such office. That is what the Constitution expects. When in Section 147(2), the Senate is given the discretion to either confirm or reject such nominees. What it means is that, because if you look at that section, there are just two key words. If the three keywords, if the nomination is confirmed, the if there means that the Senate has a discretion to either confirm or refuse to confirm. I feel that in all, the Senate should have the right to scrutinize them, and if you choose to say to screen them.
Okay, I think I would have to come here because according to Black's Law Dictionary, the word confirm, like we have here, means to complete or establish that which was imperfect or uncertain, to ratify what has been done without authority or insufficiently. Now, I'm trying to place this side by side with the word screen, Mr. Tochukwu. Does it follow the same train of thought?
In my view, the answer would be yes. Yes, in the sense that whatever the meaning of confirm, the word if, as used by the Constitution, is a conditional statement which confers discretion on the beneficiary of that statement. In other words, if is a loop which could return. In other words, if in the judgment of the distinguished senators, this person ought not to be appointed as a minister in the government of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, the power conferred by that if says that the Senate can, as a matter of fact, reject. Now, therefore, the word confirm, as used or as you explained in the dictionary, from the dictionary rather, to complete or establish that which was imperfect. It means, therefore, that the nomination made by the president is deemed imperfect, is deemed uncertain, and it will require the Senate to make it perfect. Now, how do you make something perfect which was imperfect? It is by removing the imperfections and or adding the elements required to make that perfect.
If you're just joining us, this is Discuss Nigeria, another edition, and we've been taking on some special issues and matters arising this time around if the Senate has the constitutional right to screen the ministers. And I've been discussing with Ugochukwu Ezekiel, who is a legal practitioner here in Abuja, and Mr. Tochukwu Okorie, who is a policy analyst and public affairs commentator. Now, let me come back to you, Mr. Ugochukwu. We've had instances and some occasions when some top people are being maybe nominated by the president, and then they go to the Senate, and you have a situation where they are not really being engaged critically, asking them serious questions. In that case, can we still say that the screening still goes on in that sense? Because some people just come in, maybe ex-governors or people with high reputation. You don't really, over time, you don't really see that serious questions from the Senate, from those who are meant to do the screening proper. In that case, can we still say that the screening still goes on?
Well, the problem that we've always had with our senators is the issue of indolence. Most of them, I will not say not qualified, but for reasons best known to them, refuse to do their duties. In fact, as I always say, the Senate should not even stop at the stage of asking questions. The Constitution gives them the powers to critically evaluate anybody nominated to be appointed as a minister of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. That is the stage that, as it is at that stage, that we have the opportunity to weigh the character of these persons, to ask critical questions. I always expect that senators should be up and doing. In fact, it is not a situation. The essence of reading out the names is to give distinguished senators the opportunity to go back home and ask questions about these individuals, their character, what the qualifications they purport to have, and what will they be able to put in. In fact, I should even, if we should go a little bit further, we should even expect that in confirming these persons, the Senate should go ahead to make recommendations on the particular individuals, which ministry best suits them. Because, of course, the president must have done his homework before nominating these individuals. But an opportunity is given to us all. And I want to encourage Nigerians, please, do us this great favor. Go to your constituency offices, your senatorial district offices, if you have any information about any nominee, this is our opportunity. Because once the person is appointed, only the president can remove him.
All right, then, yeah, really, it's really quite interesting when you talk of senators coming on the floor of the House, and then they have the people being nominated to be screened, and then nobody really asks really serious questions. Now, it has taken the president considerable amount of time to get these people out, to get the list submitted to the Senate, and now you're coming at the floor of the House maybe tomorrow for them to be screened. How long do you think these should take before they kick off?
I think the Constitution gave a maximum of 21 days. Yeah, 21 days. If anybody has not been screened, the person is deemed appointed
Automatically.
That having been said, I was saying something before we went on break. If you go by the rule of simple interpretation, which is literal interpretation, which is where the dictionary meaning may come to play, and you look at the word confirm as making complete that which is incomplete, or making perfect that which, it will go to add relevance to the suggestion he made. The Senate, in my thinking, going by the meaning of the word confirm, and by what I presume would have been in the mind of the draftsman when he was making this, when he was drafting this law, is that in the event that you see imperfections, you remove them. But if you need to add something, it means that the Senate may even make recommendations to the president, not just to who is fit and proper to occupy what position, but also to suggest names, because that is the process of making perfect and that authority, the Constitution in its wisdom vested not in the president but in the Senate. And that is because, like he said, the Senate is not one person, it is a representation of the entire country put together. And therefore, the screening process should be thorough. For example, in sub 5 of that same section 147, it says anybody who will be appointed as a minister must at least be qualified to be voted into the House of Reps. In other words, you would have been you will be the same qualification required of a member of the House of Reps. That's the minimum qualification for anybody who will be appointed minister. Suppose that the president nominates somebody who, for one reason or the other, fails to qualify, to be nominated, to be voted as a member of House of Reps. Are you saying that the Senate will just confirm, because the Constitution didn't give them the power to screen? Now, the thing is, it is on the Senate, it is vested in the Senate to detect such omissions or commissions and act on it by rejecting that person, giving it back to the president and saying, President, pick another person, or we give you someone else. That's by, stretching it a little further. But, the second leg is that we have seen in this country where people purport to have gone to certain schools, or they purport to have obtained certain qualifications, and it turns out that they didn't, or they didn't attend the school or didn't obtain those qualifications. A universal case in Nigeria is the case of Salisu Buhari, the first Speaker of the House of Reps in this fourth republic. Sorry, fourth republic. Now, that's a classical case study. So if Salisu Buhari, for example, had been nominated as minister by President Obasanjo, there is no way the Senate, if it did its job very well and found out that the guy didn't have the qualifications he purported to have obtained, there's no way the Senate will just close its eyes because somebody says it's not given the power to screen. That's hogwash as far as I'm concerned. And therefore, beyond all of that, there could also be the case of someone who probably had run a public office before, had run a public institution. How did you fare in your past assignment? For example, even in a private sector operator, if I were the MD of a bank, for example, and the bank failed, all right, the Senate should be able to ask question. My friend, you ran this bank and it failed. what is the why did it fail, and what is the guarantee that you are capable of running this ministry if handed over to you? You ran Volkswagen of Nigeria, for example, and you ran it underground. Okay? You ran it underground, rather. And why should we trust you? This is a position of trust. Why should the nation trust you with such high responsibility if you were unable to discharge the last responsibility of equal or near equal magnitude that was reposed on you? So it is these things that the Senate is supposed to find out, and therefore the job of the Senate is actually investigative in nature. It is not just supposed to invite someone and then look at his face and then ask him, what is your name, which school, and then everything is okay. No, the Senate should have gone back, done some investigation on the character and ability of the person, and then come back to the president and say, this person is not fit and proper.
Oh, all right. Now, going forward, Mr. Ugochukwu, a layman picks up a copy of the Nigerian Constitution and then reads confirm. And then he went to school, and then the word confirm is obviously quite different from screening. Now, do you think, looking at some of these sections that are not really that coherent when you talk of adding spices such as having a golden rule interpretation, you have mischief interpretation, you have the literary, do you think it is just proper and then to disband ambiguity for some of these draftsmen or people that have to look at this, to go back, the lawmakers, and then say, look at what we have to do to make this, to have a review of some of these sections of the Constitution?
You see, that is why it's always good that when issues like this come up, they are discussed, so that it gives the lawmakers the opportunity to look at certain sections of the Constitution and then review them if possible. Though in this case, I do not think that there is need for review here. There is no ambiguity here. This is because even a layman will understand that if you give me the assignment to confirm whether for instance, a draft document to confirm a fact in a written document, I cannot confirm that fact without looking at the document. It means that confirmation goes with critical examination. So there is no ambiguity here. Confirmation goes with critical examination of the subject matter.
All right, unfortunately, I can see my director punching my ear. That's where we'll have to draw the curtain for today, but I must not fail to thank my honorable guest, Mr. Ugochukwu Ezekiel, who is a legal practitioner based here in Abuja. And on my left, Mr. Tochukwu Okorie, who is a policy analyst and public affairs commentator. We hope next time when we invite you to the show, you guys will be very willing to come and talk to us about some critical issues like this. Please do visit our website at www.africanfreepress.com. Follow us on Twitter at African Free Press and like us on Facebook at African Free Press. Thank you. Bye-bye.